sometimes we grew pretty quickly in terms of membership,
Right.
and especially in terms of workshops and things that we tried to provide for people. And I remember some of the staff, standing in my office and say, "We can't do this anymore," and the tears would start.
There's always a tough ebb and flow there. We still feel it
and
today.
one of the ebb and flows, you talk about lean at the beginning. God, I used to lay awake at night wondering how we're going to make payroll.
Yeah.
I mean, it was lean,
Yeah.
And then a few years later, what we really tried to do, and this was hard for me, was to manage growth because, boy,
you want to grow.
I wanted to do some of
Absolutely.
this, but some of it you couldn't because you didn't have the capacity. So what we had to do was grow some, have a little more financial resources, and then we could hire another person or design something else. And then we'd get that working and generate a little more income. And then that's been going on forever. So now what do you got? 360 people who
I wish close to 30, but it's better than 4 or 5. I mean, it does help you get some things done. That's what we started with. I mean, I had 3 women and me. Yeah. And that was the whole staff. And a dial-up internet service where you'd call Levi, Ray, and Schwoop on the phone every morning. But think about through the 90s, David. Some of the big things that members today might recognize. One is we went from our 9 region structure to our 21 region structure. That was significant because that aligned us with IASA, the Illinois Association of School Administrators, plus IASB, the Illinois Association of School Boards, which has definitely helped, I think, when you think about regional opportunities and just organizationally puts us in a tighter position. We expanded the field team. You had John Orth and Fred Singleton as 2 field directors, and of course over time we've had what we now call field service specialists, but the coordinators came on in 2005. Something else that pretty unique for State Principals Association is to have our own internal general counsel. Hiring Brian Schwartz back in the 90s as well. I mean, talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, there are a million stories, but we when we started out, there was a lawyer who worked for the association on a contract. The very first important decision I made was to fire that guy because he quite frankly didn't do much, and we saw the need to hire an in-house attorney. But everybody had the perception that you hire an attorney, boy, you got to have a big time salary and stuff. And I sat down and told the board, I said, "This is state capital." I said, they're lawyers waiting tables in this town. And I said, and at that time I said, an assistant district attorney in Sangamon County, the salary is less than a beginning school teacher.
Oh, my.
And it was. We had some really high-powered people apply. Yeah. And Brian, we hired him. And boy, you talk about a great hire.
That's right.
I mean, I've made a couple hires in my life, but that one was super. And he's become nationally known as everybody knows. Author and professor and this and that and the other. And just a good guy.
The creator of our online model student handbook service.
All of those kinds of things. But the other thing about him is, like a lot of the really good longtime employees here, and factoring some board members who've done multiple terms, really bought into what's going on here. Yeah. And it wasn't just a job. I mean, it was a kind of a mission, to make the place work and make the place better and help principals. I mean, really buy into helping those people who need, and boy, do they ever get some help.
Another person that comes to mind, David, that I think is worth mentioning, who would hate that she's even being brought up, is Jean Smith. And she was the association's very first professional development director. It became evident. You talk about those first meetings you had when you started. Well, the first one that I had was at the Doubletree in Bloomington with John and Fred, Julie, and Brian. And as part of that meeting, John and Fred notified me that they weren't wanting to continue to horsepower the professional development the way that they had been. What they recognized that I was not aware of yet, because I was just getting started, was that this thing needed to be shepherded by someone that could give their full attention
100% of the time.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so, we were fortunate to have Gene apply. And when I think about where we are today with our use of technology to deliver professional learning, while we were already dabbling with like online administrator academies, I mentioned that before, she grabbed a hold of that and took us to a whole different level. She retired from IPA about 3 times because she was getting close to wanting to be like, I maybe need to step back. I said, Gene, I'll take 15 minutes a year if that's what you can give us. And so she started to back down from full-time into, 120, 160 days to 80 days, whatever, and has now finally here in 2021 fully hung it up. But, without Gene Smith, no online administrator academies, no on-demand administrator academies, no Ed Leaders Network, no micro-credentials. We just wouldn't be where we are right now without her. So I'm looking at another picture here, David, and someone that predates both of us in our positions, and is still here, is Pam Berdyne.
Oh, yeah.
Now, according to Pam, she started at IPA when she was a kindergartner.
Well,
but
she was not much more than a teenager when I came, and she's been a steady hand all of these years, right. And has done a myriad of jobs, as time progressed, and the more things you load on Pam, the more she would do, and the more responsibility she would accept, and has become a key employee.
I think the thing that I appreciate most about her is just the deep caring that she has to take care of our members.
Yep.
Right? She deeply wants to make sure that they're okay and gets the service that they need, and really kind of has a do whatever it takes attitude with regards to that. You just hire good people and
get out of the way.
Give them the resources they need, and then just be like, tell me how it goes.
Yeah.
And, right. No harm, no foul. And, it's that willingness to, take risks and being able to, I don't know, the term failing forward has kind of become cliche-ish anymore, but there's a little bit of that here too, is just being willing to roll the dice and see how things go in the spirit of ultimately doing what's best, for our members.
I'm looking at a picture. It just popped up on the table. And this is kind of a story that illustrates that cultural change that I talked about in the association during that time. I'm sitting here at a very fancy banquet table with Ed Hightower.
Right.
When I started, I would seek out somebody like Ed or anybody else around the state who was well-known and influential.
Yeah.
When I left, and where you sit now, those people seek you out.
Right.
You don't have to go looking for them. They come looking for you. Yeah. That's the change in the dynamic of the association that I think was so very important.